This is a quick, honest review for The Walking Dead, Season 2. The Walking Dead series by Telltale Games is, I think, a difficult game to review because it doesn't have a lot of gameplay. How do you review a game that has no gameplay? Well, the core elements of The Walking Dead are the strength of its story and the strength of the decisions you are allowed to make. The strength of the story, I think, is highly subjective, so I'll try not to harp on that too much. What I want to focus on is the decision making. We learned from Season 1 how Telltale does these games, how they implement the decisions, and also, I don't want to be too mean, but also the lies that came along with it. When you start up the game, it says this game is tailored to how you play based on the decisions you make. No two games are the same. Yeah, fine. I get that. There's a lot of different decisions, and the probability that someone is going to have the same exact game as you is really, really low. But that's only if you count every single dialogue option and everything else. Generally, people have the same game. And I understand why that's necessary. The possible different ways that this story could spread out from every decision is too huge. They don't have the time, the money, the team. It's impossible. No one could do it. So I understand why they give you a few different decisions, spread the game out a tiny bit, and then they bring it back in. They have to bottleneck these decisions, otherwise, by the time they got to the end of Season 1, or the end of Season 2, everyone would be playing a completely different game, truly. And they just can't do that. For the people who played through Season 1 multiple times, a lot of the decisions in Season 2 seem fairly similar. A lot of the time you can easily spot paths that if you take this way or this way, it's gonna bottleneck to the same fucking thing anyway. It really doesn't matter in the slightest. Let this girl die now? Doesn't matter. She's gonna die in 10 minutes anyway. In a different way. She's gonna be dead in everybody's game. The strength of Season 2 really comes from the ending. And I'll try to be spoiler free here. At the end of Season 1, everyone's decision, every decision up to that point was bottlenecked very tightly so that they could make a Season 2. If they didn't bottleneck it, then how could they even start on a new season? So everyone's ending of Season 1 was the same. It really was. With slight conversation differences, and that's about it. Everyone gets the same cutscene at the end. There's no big change. Season 2 has, I believe, a total of 8 different endings, most of which are vastly different from one another. Seeing as Season 2 does not bottleneck at all, that would lead one to believe that Season 3 either will not exist, I don't believe it's been announced, or that it will have brand new characters, a brand new story, and will have absolutely nothing to do with what we've seen thus far. Knowing that Season 2 is probably the final season, at least for these characters, really lends it more weight. Often at the end of a Walking Dead episode, we would see that many people, by far the majority, made the same decision about one certain thing. 80% or 90% made the same decision as you did. And I think that those were often poorly done by Telltale. That showed us that really there wasn't that much of a choice. I was always more pleased when we would see something along the lines of a 50-50 split. At the end of Season 2, your final decision will probably only be accompanied by maybe 20% of other players, 15-20%. And I think that shows that the last decision was well thought out. It was a quality decision. And the writers did a fantastic job with it. Frankly, I'm sad that Season 2 is finished. I would love to see a Season 3 or a Walking Dead 2.0 or whatever they might call it, some kind of spin-off. But I know Telltale is very busy with the new Game of Thrones game that they've started production on, as well as Wolf Among Us. Well, goodbye, zombies. Bye, Clementine. Keep that hair short.